Welcome, everyone, to the Kovacs Perspective. I'm Steve Kovacs, your host. Our show's mission, our show's goal is to help people, to bring quality, good info to help folks. And you know something? When you really have that as your goal, it's hard to screw up. So we're apt not to. Anyway, today's show has the very real potential to save you tens of thousands of dollars if you are involved in helping any loved ones with elder care. We're going to discover and discuss very available, but sometimes misunderstood, and really in many cases, programs not known to people, programs that are here to help us with elder care. Well, you know, anyone dealing with elder care should listen tonight, or be sure to listen when this will be a podcast or a recorded version, let's call it, of tonight's show. So if you know someone that can't be here today to listen to all our knowledge that we're going to be discussing about elder care, they just can't be here, but you think they may need that help to save those thousands of dollars, possibly, to find out what programs are available to get those people out of that fear that they're in. How am I going to take care of my grandfather, my mother, my father? If you know of anybody that's close to that or in the middle of it, and they can't be here today, you let them know. Tell them to go to thekovacsperspective.com. In a couple days, we'll have that recorded podcast version up there. Our first guest spends his time helping seniors access little-known government benefits to pay the cost of long-term elder care. He's a retired attorney, an elder care advocate. Let me introduce Carl Leiter. How you doing, Carl?
I'm doing well, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Carl. You know, we have you on as our first guest, and we have, after you, another guest regarding elders. And this is a fantastically important topic for many people, and me too, Carl. I have somebody, an elder parent, that doesn't need my care yet, but, you know, it makes me think. So when I came across, Carl, when I came across your information, it really hit me, and it hit our producer, too, that it's so important, and you talk about such bold things that I think many people just don't know about. So, Carl, first of all, before we get into the specifics on how people can help themselves and what programs are available, tell me a little bit about why you are passionate about elder care.
Well, there's only a handful of so-called experts like myself. I'm in California, but we're located throughout the country, and we're all self-taught because we all have stories like mine. Mine is that my mother called me 14 years ago and asked me to help a friend whose husband had Alzheimer's and now had to go to a nursing home. And the nursing homes back then, 14 years ago, were $60,000 a year. Now they're between $80,000 and $100,000 a year for a nice nursing home. And her friend, my mother's friend, they were in their 80s, and if the husband went to a nursing home, she had been caring for him for 3 years but couldn't do it anymore. And if he went to a nursing home, they'd be wiped out. They'd lose their home. They'd lose everything. My mother told me she heard, and I don't know how mothers do this, but they hear things. And she heard that there's some government program. Would I look into it and help her friend out? And I told my mom, I can't do that. Mom, I'm retired. I retired early. I practiced law for 20 years. And she said, well, I have to, and that's it. And, you know, moms make their kids do things. And that's how I got involved, because I couldn't duck it. She wouldn't let me. And what I found out is that almost everybody can save and keep almost everything and choose the nursing home where they wish to receive their elder care and receive government benefits and grants and subsidies. And wealth is not a barrier. It's not just for poor people. And the general community just doesn't know this.
Well, Carl, you know, what you just said, if I wasn't firmly planted in my computer chair here, my desk chair, I'd fall out of it. Because what you said was groundbreaking. I mean, because what I've heard, and I think what most people have heard, oh, my God, we're going to lose everything. Every penny that we have is gone, is going to be gone. We can't get our we can't get mom into a good place because good places cost $80,000, $100,000 a year. And what you're saying is that everything I pretty much said is not forged in stone, correct?
That's exactly right. The program is called Medicaid, And when most people hear Medicaid, they think of the program for poor people, disadvantaged people. What they don't realize is that there are two totally separate Medicaid programs. One is for disadvantaged people, and it supplies food, shelter, clothing, everything. And you have to be truly destitute and without funds and impoverished to qualify for that program. And if you do, you get a lot of stuff. The other program, the program I talk about, the program people really know nothing about, is just for nursing home residents. And wealth is not a barrier, and it's different rules. The issue is not, are you poor enough? The issue is, how have you classified your ownership of everything you own? And I'm sorry to say this, but it's government, and government has their own language and their own rules, and you run around in circles, and they make you jump through hoops. But if you jump through the hoops, you get something very significant, because they allow you to rearrange your ownership and to structure it so that you will not be disqualified, you will not have any penalties, there will not be any liens, you can keep everything you have, and the government will pay the tab. And I've been doing this for 14 years, and no one has ever been denied. And the problem is that people don't know about it. They think it's this other program for impoverished people, and it's not.
Wow. Carl, there's so many questions to ask you. And before I go further, I want to tell folks that they can hop online and go to www.nursinghomeCharges, or is that changes, Carl? What is that?
It's Nursing Home Charges. That's right, nursingHomeCharges.com.
Are you still there, Carl?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I heard a lot of feedback, but that's okay. So it's nursingHomeCharges.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so keep that, or you could listen to us and still go to that site if you'd like, or write that down for later. All right, Carl, let me ask you, let me get right to the chase. What I've been told that you can't get into a nursing home unless you have no assets and you've sold your house. Those $600,000 you've had in stocks and bonds have been dissipated somehow. It's not there anymore. Your house is gone. Your stocks are gone. You have $16.32 to your name, and that's it. Now the government will help you. I guess that's not true.
Well, Steve, you're like most of the people and 90% of the lawyers, because you have heard these rumors, and they're not facts. They're not true.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. And it goes under the program Medicaid, but it's not that Medicaid that we've all heard, right? Correct?
That's exactly right, and that's why people get scared away and they don't apply and they don't look into it. I've had doctors tell people, because many people, when they have questions about anything, they ask their doctor. The doctor is someone they trust. And the doctor told this one client in particular, no, you can't qualify. You have to sign over your home. You have too much money. Well, she saw me on a television interview program, on a news program. She called me, and I was able to tell her, no, the doctor didn't know that he didn't know. He was talking about something he thought was the rule, but it's not. And, of course, I got her husband qualified, and she saved their home and saved their money, and she stopped spending. She was spending $7,000 a month, and she was going to be wiped out in another year. We were able to stop that.
And when you say she was, the elder person was spending $7,000 a month, or a relative was?
The healthy wife. And it's usually a wife or a husband or a son or a daughter or somebody in the family that comes to me and asks me, can we help them? The problem is that when anybody asks the government what these rules are, they're only told that you can only have $2,000 and you can keep your home while you're alive, but once you die, we're going to put a lien on your home, and that's it. What they don't tell you is that there are 3,000 pages of federal and state laws and rules and regulations that can override that. And so the issue is not, are you poor enough? The issue is, how do you own and structure your ownership? And it becomes more like estate planning than proving you're poor, because the issue is not, are you poor? The issue is, what do you own and how do you own it? And we won't tell you the secrets. Find out yourself. But when you find out yourself and make your claim, you get 100% cooperation, and that's why I've never had anybody denied.
So if you know how to navigate the system, you can get in. But navigating the system, if you're not used to it, is quite difficult, is what I'm getting, right?
Well, that's all right. That's exactly what the situation is. The answers and the way to navigate the system are not set out anywhere in the rules. You have to research the different laws and rules, the rules for real estate, the rules for non-real estate property, the Medi-Cal rules, the probate rules, wills and trust rules. You have to research it, and you have to figure out how to do this. And once you figured it out, it's absolutely clear that you get 100% approval and cooperation from the government, and this has been the fact for 14 years.
And you've never ran into a situation where your client or the person you're helping has been denied?
Absolutely. What I've run into is a situation where the eligibility worker, who was only given 2 weeks training, by the way, in this area by the government, doesn't really understand, and so I have to treat this person with kid gloves. And instead of making it confrontational and scolding them, I need to help them understand and educate them and point out the law. And with that kind of attitude of win-win and helping, that's why it's been successful.
All right, Carl, I know we have people tonight listening. I just know we have folks listening that are dealing with their parents, and I'm sure they're kind of biting their fingernails, and they're going, how do I do this? Mom has as an example, she has a $160,000 house that's paid off. She has $10,000 in cash, and the person that's taking care of Mom is worried. What do I do? So she gets a hold of Carl. She goes to nursinghomeCharges.com, and she gets a hold of you. What do you do? How do you start helping this person?
Okay, the first thing I need to do is I need to talk with them, and I need to get a very detailed understanding of exactly everything they own and how they own it, how it's structured, whether there's a trust or not, what kind of trust there is, whether there's joint ownership or individual ownership, etc., and what their assets are, because each solution is a custom-created solution depending on what they own separately and as a mix. Once I understand exactly everything that they want to protect, then I can piece together a protection plan for them and tell them what they need to do. For example, in a simple case where a person owns a house and $10,000 cash, that's a simple case, and it's a single individual who needs to go to nursing home, get nursing home care, and the government is always telling them, well, you've got more than $2,000, you're disqualified. The government will tell them, spend it down, which means don't give it away, spend it on yourself for your needs, and when you're down to your last $2,000, come back, and we'll help you, we'll approve your benefits, and we won't take your home away from you, but when you die, we'll put a lien on it and get our money back. That's what they'll tell them. What they won't tell them, and what I will tell the people is, one, there's definitely a way to transfer ownership of your home properly and preserve your capital gains tax step-up in basis on the value of the home, because most of the people I work with, they bought a home 30 years ago for $12,000, and here in California it's now worth $500,000. Big tax issue that you want to pass on to the kids. And I will tell them, we can protect your home, and we will do it with a special kind of deed and a special kind of family agreement, etc., and special procedures that Medi-Cal, Medicaid, the government has accepted in every case I've handled for the last 14 years. And I will tell them, for example, as to that $10,000, that's the only thing that's blocking your eligibility. Well, I'll tell you what. If your home needs a roof or appliances or to be repainted or repaired, let's go ahead and do that with that $10,000 so the money and the benefit goes to your family. And then we will tell everything to the government in the application, not holding back any information, full disclosure, and it'll be approved because the house becomes an exempt asset, and anything that's poured into the house becomes exempt also. That's just one illustration of the kind of thinking and solutions that we work with.
Excellent. Where does this, and in 14 years it hasn't happened to you yet, is there anything that's going to preclude someone from being able to do something like this?
Only one thing. If their income is greater than the cost of the nursing home they select, then they can't be approved. There's basically 4 criteria that are looked at in terms of eligibility and qualification. And the first one is one we just spoke about. Is your income higher or lower than the cost of the nursing home care? If it's lower than the cost of the nursing home care, then you can qualify. And then the other 3 areas that the government looks at, of course, are assets, income, and then recovery after death. And we take care of all of those.
And the government, I never knew this, Carl. The government looks for, and you call it, and it's a cutesy term, recovery after death. So in some cases, the government plans and sets it up where they get to keep your assets. They get to keep your house, or if you have a horse farm or whatever, that's theirs after you die, kind of in turn for what they're doing for you, paying for your nursing home services?
That's exactly right. This is not a welfare program. It's called the Share of Costs program, and so it has different rules. In welfare, you can't have anything, and then you can get a lot of benefits when you file your application. This is different than welfare. You can keep everything if you protect it, and you can get the benefits, but then the back end of the flip side of that coin is that you want to make sure that you've not only sheltered your assets so they do not block eligibility, but that you've also sheltered your assets so that the government will not claim reimbursement after you die. And that's legal, it's legitimate, it's proper. Again, it's accomplished by way of procedures which I've researched and developed and used over the 14 years, and there's never been a problem. I've never had the state put a claim on anything of anybody. The federal law requires the state to try and recover, and they do try this, but they've never tried it against any of my clients.
So the federal law tells the state that they require the state to try to recover?
Yes.
Okay, but what you're saying is there's ways, legal ways, to navigate that system for that it does not have to happen.
Exactly right. With full disclosure, when I file the application, I file it, and not in these words, and I do it in more technical terms, more technical words, but I more or less say to the government in my application, and I'm very detailed about it. I suppose 2 years of engineering school made me a very detailed person, and I explain, this person has this and owns this and that and the other thing, and we've sheltered the home and we've sheltered the $200,000, and we've done this and that by way of this procedure and that procedure, so please don't deny their application. Please don't make them spend it down. Please don't penalize them. Please just start paying their nursing home bill, and by the way, when they die, please don't try to recover anything because it's all protected if you'll look at the paperwork. And that's the way it's worked.
Well, Carl, what you're saying is just, anybody that's dealing with this or thinking about dealing with it, this is a godsend. Carl, you're kind of like Santa Claus, and I know you got a chuckle when I said that, but correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of attorneys that don't know what you're talking about, right? This is a specialty that not a lot of folks know about.
90% of the attorneys know nothing about this because it's not taught in any law school or university or anything like that. The handful of experts like myself, we know about it because we are self-taught. We took the time to research it, dig it out, talk to government officials, talk to 3 different people in government. You get 3 different answers, piece it together, find out how it works, and it's like tax practice and tax law. The government won't tell you what to do, but if you think you see a benefit, and if you think you know how to capture that benefit, and if you do the things to get that benefit, and you make your claim, the tax people will approve it. And the same thing here with the nursing home claims. It's exactly what it is. It's a claim. They won't tell you. They won't help you. But we make our claim, and we say we're entitled to this, and here's the laws, and I cite them the laws. And it is a godsend. It was incredible. I was blown out of my chair when I found out, and I said, this is too good to just do for my mom's friend and walk away from. There's too many people that need to know about this. And sure enough, my mom's friend told somebody, and they told somebody else, and all of a sudden I'm not so retired anymore.
You're not so retired anymore. I want to tell the listeners out there that you had mentioned a term called Medi-Cal, and that is what Medicaid, right, is called in the state of California, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. We've got about 5 minutes left, Carl, and this is so important. And I want you to put your engineer cap on because, time is short on television and radio. I want you to put your engineer cap on and your attorney cap on. There are people right now listening and will be listening. They're puzzled. They're really scared. They don't want, dad and mom have worked all their lives to get this next nest egg for them, their grandkids, and they're scared. They think they're going to be decimated, and they're fearful that there might not even be enough money for decent health care for their parents in a nursing home. Carl, you got about 5 minutes. I've talked to you long enough. Tell these folks right now listening what they can expect, what their possibilities are, and what they can do to maybe tap into that, possibly getting a hold of you. All right, my friend, now you got only about 4 minutes. Talk to me.
Well, that's okay because I can do it in 1 minute. What they need to know is that the law's on their side. What they need to know is that not all lawyers know about this, even though they're elder care attorneys. I get lawyers that call me frequently, and they say, so-and-so is a client of theirs, and I've been talking to them, and here's what I'm doing for them, and I can't do it. So would I please leave them alone? And I tell these lawyers, excuse me, but you don't understand what's a proper and improper thing to be doing here. And I cite them the laws, and I cite them the rules, and I say, by the way, your clients are not getting the benefits you should be giving them because you don't know about this. You might want me to come in and talk to your clients. So what I want people to understand is that they can contact a lawyer or an experienced specialist professional in the field, and they do not have to lose their homes. And every state is a little bit different. I'm in California, and the federal law sets the basic rules, but lets each state tweak it a little bit. And California has tweaked it just as other states. You're allowed to call it whatever you want. We call it Medi-Cal. Massachusetts calls it Mass Health. Tennessee calls it TennCare, et cetera, et cetera. Many states just call it Medicaid. But it's the nursing home division of the Medicaid laws. You do not have to lose anything. You can keep everything. You can choose the nursing home you prefer. They don't tell you how to choose the nursing home, but you don't have to wait in line and you don't have to be placed. You can choose the nursing home that you prefer. It's all a matter of understanding how the system works and how to do it. And I understand the state Medicaid manual in and out. I know what they're trained and how they're trained, and so do other professionals in other states. And so it's a shame to lose everything or even lose anything, because one of the last things older people have in their hearts and their souls is the pride and the satisfaction and the knowledge that they worked their whole life and they're going to pass it on to their kids. That's the one last thing they're holding on to during the last parts of their life when the aging process. And it's really important to let them know and to help them, and for the kids too, don't have to lose anything at all.
Well, and the last couple of words you said was important. You're saying that they don't have to lose anything at all. And I agree. These people, the elder people we're talking about, many of them, they take pride in, I've saved up all this money. I've saved up my home for my kids, for my grandkids. It's part of me. And I know the fear is great for many people. And what you're saying, Carl, I'm going to paraphrase, and if there's something a little bit off, you just chime right in, that there is hope. There's phenomenal hope to people that have been inundated, been told that, this is it, man, this is what you got, and this is just the way the ball's going to bounce. I almost want to say, Carl, and I will say it, that they owe themselves to go. And here, I sound like that Vince guy selling the ShamWow on television, but I don't mean to be. But I can't think of anything else to say here. Anything less than what I'm going to say here, I would be amiss. To go to your site, nursing home, nursinghomecharges.com, and see if ladies and gentlemen, see if you're into this, area of life now, this realm, see what they have to say, and utilize their services. And we don't have time to really get into how they do it, what they do, but I mean, it's certainly worth a shot, because this is like something that we just haven't heard. It's almost too good to be true. However, Carl's looking us in the camera and telling us he's done it for a lot of years. I think we owe it to ourselves, and I may be one of those people shortly that may need these services. So, Carl, did I get that right, that there's hope for everybody out there, much more than they probably thought?
Well, let me tell you, Steve, it's much bigger than hope. It's an absolute guarantee, and that's why I guarantee people that we will get approved, or I'll give them their money back. The law is on your side. If you do things properly, by law, you cannot legally be denied. It's more than hope. It's the way the system works. Socrates said, you can make all the laws you want, let me interpret them. So understanding how the law is interpreted is critical, and I understand how it's been done, and that's why we can do this. So it's greater than hope. It's definitely doable, and you owe it to yourself and your family to look into it.
Well, you also mentioned the words money-back guarantee. I love it. Carl, I have to go because my producer is telling me that we've got to go, and time is wasting. It's never wasting with this topic, but we've got to move on. And Carl, again, let me mention your website. It's groundbreaking info, it seems like, www.nursinghomecharges.com. Thank you, Carl, very much for being our guest.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.